All right, friends, welcome back to the channel. What we saw last night was honestly a full-blown masterclass in love bombing, hoovering, and breadcrumbing. Textbook behavior. This is exactly what narcissists do to pull their targets back in. Kody wrapped Janelle up in just enough warmth to confuse her. A few compliments here, a few carefully chosen words there. He said the things he knew would land. He made her feel seen, special, like she mattered again. And Janelle, she soaked it up. She was starving for it, absolutely starving. And when you've been emotionally deprived for years, even crumbs can feel like a feast. She ate? She really did. Is that what the kids say now? She ate? Because she did. She cleaned the plate. And this is exactly why her daughter Maddie said what she said. I think he's only coming back because you're moving on and he wants to stir up chaos again. Maddie clocked it immediately. She saw it for what it was. Here's the hard truth. I honestly believe Janelle would still be with Kody today if he hadn't made Robyn so openly the favorite. If things had stayed status quo, if he hadn't rewritten the rules for one wife while neglecting the rest, Janelle would have stayed. She said herself she thought she had a good relationship with this man. Let that sink in. Her children want nothing to do with him. Nothing. One of her daughters has openly called the relationship abusive. And still, those breadcrumbs worked. Now let's talk about that moment when Kody said the meanest thing he ever did was tell her he didn't love her. He says, I think the meanest thing I ever did was say I didn't love you. That wasn't true. That was a lie. I said it from a place of pain. And Janelle immediately responds, I knew it. I knew you loved me. I did. I knew we had a right relationship. Did you see her face? Did you catch that sparkle in her eyes? That smile? That emphatic, I knew, I knew, I knew? That was the moment. That's where the hook set. Because notice something important here. It's not actually about what he said. It's about how he behaved for years. Years of neglect, years of absence, years of emotional whiplash. But somehow, in her mind, the cruelest thing he ever did was say, I didn't love you. Not abandoning her kids, not berating her children, not terrorizing the family emotionally, not withholding money, not disappearing for days at a time. No, the meanest thing was that one sentence. Kody himself has called Janelle a victim, someone who likes to play the victim. Meanwhile, he emotionally steamrolled her and her children for years. And yet, here she is, reassuring him, comforting him, validating him. She says, I knew we always had a great relationship. And I have to ask, what part was great, Janelle? Was it the part where you saw him once every 4 days? The part where he was barely around? The part where you left him for 5 years? Or maybe one of the 3 times you left him altogether? 3 times, Janelle. 3. Was it the part where you lived in a trailer on Coyote Pass? The part where he wouldn't help you financially to buy a house? The part where stability was always just out of reach? Because from the outside looking in, that doesn't look like a great relationship. It looks like survival. And survival can feel familiar, even comforting, when that's all you've known.
Now, let's keep going, because when you really line it all up, it gets even harder to listen to. What about the part where he took money from you? The part where he flat out stole from you? The part where he convinced you to sell your Las Vegas house, your stability, only to leave you scrambling later? Or the part where he planned to take all the money tied up in Coyote Pass? What about the money you gave him for the house in Flagstaff that he never paid back? Or, brace yourself, the part where he berated your son, verbally abused him, isolated him, turned him into the villain of the family. The part where your son's mental health declined so badly that he turned to alcohol and ultimately took his own life. But yes, somehow, through all of that, you knew he always loved you. This is what's so painful to watch. Janelle is a woman who has lived in a cycle of emotional abuse for so long that she no longer has a clear picture of what healthy love even looks like. When abuse becomes normal, crumbs of validation start to feel like affection. But let's be very clear, none of that was love. Not one bit. What we just witnessed was a woman receiving a tiny breadcrumb of validation while he swoops in, smooth-talking and emotional, and it works. I don't even know that Kody is actively trying to get back together with her, but he's absolutely planting the seed. And the scary part? Even Janelle seems to feel it. She's not as angry as she used to be. The edge has softened, but nothing has actually changed. He's still with Robyn. The same dynamics would still be there, the same neglect, the same favoritism. And I have to ask, how would her kids feel if she went back again? This is exactly why her children keep such a guarded distance when it comes to her relationship with Kody. Maddie even talked about this on a podcast, about how her mom was stuck in this cycle, going back to someone who hurt her, not putting the kids first, over and over again. It's heartbreaking, truly. Then we hear Janelle say, I haven't had this kind of emotional connection with him in a long time. And I'm like, where is this going? She admits she was confused. She says at one point she thought, wow, you're really laying it on thick. She even wondered if he was about to ask for reconciliation, though she says it wouldn't have made sense. But here's where I'm struggling. Why is she confused? Every single time they've sat down together since the split, Kody has tried to pull her back in. Every time. This isn't new behavior. Remember that last meeting before they were getting ready to sell Coyote Pass? He's sitting there eating eggs, they're talking about the property, and Janelle says she wants to sell. And Kody immediately pivots to, well, what about us? Every single time. So when she acts surprised by his intensity, by his emotional push, I just don't buy it. This is his pattern. This is what he does when he feels control slipping through his fingers. And yet, he was still trying to get back together with her. Even this season, Robyn was asking about Janelle. What's going to happen with her? Is there any chance of reconciliation? That tells you everything you need to know. Kody keeps the door cracked open with Janelle because, in my opinion, he knows she's the easiest one to manipulate. That's just my take, but it fits the pattern. Maybe Janelle gives him something intellectually that Robyn doesn't. Maybe she can actually have deeper conversations with him. I don't know, but I don't believe for 1 second that he wants her back because he loves her. And I also don't think Janelle would fully take him back at this point. But here's the danger. The seed has been planted, and she's responding to it. She even says it herself. It's been so long since he's been nice to me. That alone should stop us in our tracks. Then Kody admits he felt safe saying all of this to her. Why? Because he knew she'd be the easiest one to hear it. Translation, he knew she wouldn't push back. He knew she wouldn't challenge him. Kody knows exactly who to go to. Janelle has always been the nice one, the accommodating one, the one who doesn't fight, the one who doesn't demand more. Over time, that kind of dynamic eats away at your self-esteem. When you've been surviving on scraps for years, even a little kindness feels overwhelming. And let's not forget, she's the only one who hadn't dated yet. She hadn't had a clean emotional break. She was still connected to him. So of course he went to her first. And if he could get Janelle back, Robyn would be just fine with it. That would still fit her strange, carefully controlled version of plural marriage. Then Kody says something that, on the surface, sounds almost accountable. I think it would have been a lot safer for you. I feel like I put you in harm's way, and I didn't step up to protect you. Janelle responds with a quiet, grateful, wow, thank you. And he continues, talking about how he wasn't brave enough, strong enough, man enough, how she didn't feel safe, how he failed her. But here's where the manipulation slides in. Because suddenly, now, it's Meri's fault. He reframes the whole thing as if he threw her to the wolves, as if Meri was some kind of monster he forced Janelle to live with. No, absolutely not. What actually happened is this. Kody chose to bring in Meri's ex-sister-in-law behind her back. He expected them to magically get along, and then he left them alone together for weeks at a time while he went off doing whatever he wanted. This isn't accountability. This is deflection. It's Kody sidestepping his own responsibility and rewriting history so that Meri becomes the villain, and he gets to look like the regretful hero. It's easier to blame someone else than to admit, I made selfish choices and people got hurt.
He's essentially saying that all the abuse was Meri's fault. Now look, maybe there was conflict between Meri and Janelle. Maybe it was unhealthy. That can be true. But here's the part that cannot be ignored. None of them would have been there without Kody. There would have been no tension, no rivalry, no power struggle, no emotional chaos, if not for him. They were fighting about Kody. You're my ex's wife. You're my brother's ex. I wasn't expecting you to join this family. That tension didn't come out of thin air. It came from a system he created and benefited from. And when Janelle says there was no book and no one advising them, come on, that's just not true. They had a church, they had church leaders, they had mentors, they had rules and guidelines spelled out for plural marriage. Now, do those systems actually work? No, they don't, because this kind of arrangement is impossible to do in a healthy way. But to act like there was no blueprint at all is disingenuous. What they really mean is, there's no way to do this without pain, so we just pretend the pain is spiritual growth. Work through your jealousy is just another way of saying endure this suffering and you'll be rewarded later. It's wild when you really think about it. So once again, Kody shifts the blame to Meri, and just like that, he doesn't have to take responsibility. That's not an apology. It just sounds like one if you don't listen closely. Then he says, I just didn't realize you weren't feeling safe. That sentence alone says everything. He goes on about picturing her in that space, feeling ashamed, saying she deserved to feel safe and that he failed her. And then Janelle says something incredibly telling. She talks about emotionally shutting down just to survive those early years, and that they never really got back from that. This is exactly what I was talking about last week. When someone experiences prolonged trauma, a common coping mechanism is emotional shutdown. You stop feeling, you stop processing, you just push through, you survive. Janelle did that, and in many ways, she's still doing it. She learned how to tune things out, to not think too deeply, to not open old wounds. And when you live that way, it becomes very easy for someone like Kody to pull you back in. Because if you don't fully process what happened, if you don't sit with the pain, you can convince yourself that everything was fine. You tell yourself the relationship was good, ideal even. So when Kody says, if I had just had your back, if I had just made you feel safe, none of that actually matters. Those are hypotheticals. They don't change what happened. What matters is what he did and what she had to do to survive it. None of that would have changed anything. None of it. Kody simply doesn't have the emotional capacity to navigate this kind of relationship. He never did. His priority has always been himself, his comfort, his ego, his image. In his mind, he is the center of everything. And even now, after he's left, after she's left, after it's supposedly over, this apology still isn't about Janelle. It's about him. It's about looking better on television. It's about repairing his bruised ego. It's about getting her to stop talking about him. Because I guarantee you this, the moment something happens that upsets him, he'll flip the script again. And we've already seen it. He immediately starts accusing Janelle of trying to orchestrate some kind of financial betrayal involving Meri because she controls the finances. Just like that, she's under the bus again. This is all placating. He's saying what he knows she wants to hear. None of it has real substance. None of it holds weight. And what makes me sad is watching her accept it, take it in, then quietly set aside her own feelings. But the truth is, she never really processed those feelings to begin with. That's why this works. I genuinely feel sad for Janelle, because moments like this create confusion. They blur lines. They open doors that should probably stay closed. And yes, I think this could absolutely lead her to questioning whether she should get back together with him. Then Kody says, and Janelle, you get the high honor of being the person I felt safest with to offer that olive branch. And she responds warmly, gratifyingly. We did. We had a good relationship. I'm grateful for what we had. I really am. They thank each other. She says she still cares about him, and she believes he still cares about her. But she also says he's not in her life anymore, and she won't be in his. Here's the problem. Kody already told Robyn the real reason for this apology. He said he wanted to set them free so they'd stop talking badly about him. That was his stated goal. But Janelle doesn't understand what this apology is even for, because he never explains it. He doesn't say, I want closure. He doesn't say, I'd like us to be respectful co-parents. They don't even really talk about their kids. The only time the children come up is when Janelle mentions Garrison's military headstone, how she's handling the paperwork and planning to place one in Wyoming. Kody immediately says, we can do that together, and she agrees. And that's it. There's no discussion about how he treated the kids, no apology for the neglect, no acknowledgement of the damage done, nothing, because that's all very carefully avoided. They don't talk about Robyn, they don't talk about Meri, they don't talk about Christine, they don't talk about the past. They keep the focus tightly on just the two of them, because that's the only way he can keep her emotionally engaged. And here's the most troubling part. He's still not being honest. He's not telling her the real reason for the apology. He's not saying, I'm sorry because I want you to stop criticizing me. He's not saying, I want to control the narrative. Instead, he lets her believe this is about healing, when really it's about image. Because throughout this entire conversation, you can see how confused she is about why he's apologizing, and that confusion matters. It makes her wonder if there's still a chance, if reconciliation is somehow on the table. And that is the exact opposite of setting someone free. If your goal is truly to set someone free and they're already moving on, you make it crystal clear. This is not about getting back together. This is not about rekindling anything. This is simply about closure and moving forward. But he never says that, not once. And he certainly doesn't say the truth. I want you to stop talking badly about me, and that's why I'm apologizing. Because of that, next week we hear Janelle admit that at one point she actually debated whether she might reconcile with him. Let that sink in. Now, let's be clear. There's nothing here that suggests they actually are reconciling. Janelle is literally building a house in North Carolina on property she owns with her daughter. She's not moving. She's putting down roots. Her life is there. Meanwhile, Kody and Robyn are still in their Flagstaff house, out by the dump and the mine, living their version of life. Everyone is technically moving on. Except now, he's stirred up chaos in her life again. And for what? He didn't apologize for anything specific. He didn't take real accountability. There was no ownership of the damage he caused. Toward the very end, Janelle mentions that it would be nice if he could rebuild relationships with his kids, but that's it. And even then, nothing comes of it. What Kody has figured out is this. If he can get Janelle to stop thinking about everything else, the kids, the history, the damage, and focus only on him and her, he can still manipulate her. And here's something important. Before Garrison's death, Janelle was more grounded. She was clearer. She understood that no matter what Kody said, all that chaos would still be there. If she went back, the same problems would still exist. If she had stayed, they still would have existed. It never would have worked. And let's be honest, people don't leave great relationships. You don't uproot your entire life and move across the country if things are good. You don't leave quietly in the middle of the night without telling your spouse. Your kids don't go no contact with their father if the relationship was healthy. That wasn't a great relationship. It just wasn't. And what makes me sad is that Janelle, at this stage of her life, still can't fully see it. I don't know if she ever will. I truly hope that someday she gets real support, therapy, distance, healing, and fully frees herself from him, because he is deeply toxic, deeply abusive, and this so-called apology was honestly hard to watch. It didn't bring peace. It brought confusion. All right, friends, that's where I'll leave it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If this resonated with you, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks so much for watching.